So um, when we write code for making decision in a program, then what we call that structure is called like selection or decision structure. So these are like lines of codes which help the program to select a path to take based on the outcome of a decision or some sort of comparison of the input with something else. So I mean the program basically checks the input for a certain condition. If it is true, like if the given condition is true, then it follows a certain path. And that might be just one case where just it just follows only a certain code if it's it's uh, it's true to a certain condition, and that's like the if selection structure. And there's also the if else selection structure, where I mean you have one condition which is for if this is true then do this, and otherwise do this, and that's like the if else selection structure. And these two structures are we're going to cover that in this lecture. There's also more complicated selection structures like if else and case selection structures, but that's for the next chapter. Now there are some examples given here of like how this actually works, and you'll probably realize that you make decisions all the time, right? You make choices all the time. You might not like say them out loud or write them out loud like this, but I mean you should understand the logic behind it. And as you already probably have guessed that the results are basically either true or false. So if some condition is true, then some sort sets of code are executed. If not, some other sets of code are executed. And two examples are given here. So the first example says that if it is raining, then do two things like wear a raincoat and bring an umbrella. If it's not, then you don't have to worry about that. And that's like an if statement. On the other hand, there's this if and else statement that that's given in example 2, that if you have a test tomorrow, that's the condition, then study tonight, otherwise you just watch a movie. So you made that decision. So if you have a test, study or watch a movie. So that's an example of the if else statement or selection structure. So the if selection structure, it only consists of one set of instruction to process when the condition is true. And in the if else selection structure, it actually contains two sets of instruction. So it tries to cover like all the possibilities really. So if something happens, do this, if or otherwise do that. However, in the if selection, I mean there's no otherwise, right? Only if this happens, do this, otherwise technically you don't have to do anything. But in the if else, you have to do something else also. So then basically in the if else, so one set of instruction is processed when the condition is true, and the other set is processed when the condition is false. And so when it's true, when the condition is true, that's called the true path. And if it's false, if the condition is false, that's called the false path. And I mean the true path and false path only come into play when you have a if else. In just a if selection structure, then there's a true path, and I mean there's no false path. I mean you don't do anything if it's false, you just like sit there. So here's some more examples. So for the first example, in the if selection structure, after assigning inputs to variables, you see, and the inputs here are part number and price. So, and you look at the part number input. If it's AB203, so suppose somebody enters the text AB203 in the text box where we are expecting a part number, then what you do is you take the input price, whatever is given, and multiply it by 1.1, so it increases by 10%, and then you display a message called price increase. So the user will understand that for that part there is a price increase, and that's it, and that's being signified by the end if statement. So for that condition, you you end right there. Those are the two lines of codes. Now no matter like what the part number is, whether it's AB203 or not, you always display the part number and price after after your processing. And the if else selection structure example says that suppose the user inputs sales, a variable sales. So the user inputs how many sales happen. So if the sales are greater than 1500, then there's another variable called commission. That commission is equals to whatever sales times 0.02. So that's basically 2% of the sales is given as commission. And if it's lesser than 1500, then the commission is sales times 0.01. So the idea is if there's a lot of sales, you get more commission than if not. And in any circumstances, after these conditions are met or not, we have to display the commission that we're getting. One thing which I forgot to mention, these are called pseudocodes. And these are not actually lines of code. These are the idea behind the code we will write for in the program, because I mean these are just thought processes.